Welcome in, guys. This is Basch here bringing you this presentation of my top 25 for week 7. Been a good one this season. Let's see if we get some more. As number 25, we're going to open up with Utah after a big win against Stanford last night. Utah only losing a couple of games to quality opponents, one of them being Washington, the other one they did fall to Washington State, a quality opponent, even though they are not in the top 25, top 40 in my opinion. Utah State solid team, or Utah solid team. TCU number 24 didn't really move, kind of the same reasons as last week. By week this week didn't really do anything. Number 23 Cincinnati, they're 6-0. They are playing some pretty good football. They beat Tulane, not necessarily too convincingly, but they did win that ball game by a couple scores, so a very good Cincinnati team to keep an eye on. Number 22, Miami. Miami just somehow continues on winning. I'm still not impressed with them. They beat Florida State, a very bad Florida State team, by, I think 1 point. Number 21, Auburn. Man, Auburn needs to get their crap together offensively, or they are going to run into Bama, and they will not love the result whatsoever. Auburn's looking like crap right now. That needs to be fixed. Let's see if they can fix it. It's going to be hard to. Number 20, NC State at 5-0. The North Carolina State Wolfpack quietly undefeated, and now we are looking at this as, man, what if NC State and West Virginia would have played? Who knows? NC State looking like a possible contender in the ACC quietly. Number 19, the Colorado Buffaloes. 5-0, looking very, very good. Beating Arizona State this week and finally getting a convincing win by 7, the same amount that Washington had beaten Arizona State. I don't know if that matters, but hey. Number 18 is Iowa. I'm very impressed with Iowa, and they beat Minnesota yesterday in a pretty convincing fashion. And Iowa just looks really good. They lost one game that they should have won against Wisconsin. Give the Hawkeyes some love here. Number 17, the LSU Tigers. The reason they fell this much is not necessarily because I think they're that bad. It's because of what's ahead of them. And we'll talk about that in a minute, but a loss to Florida really hurts. Their ineptability to move that ball on offense. That you need to move the ball on offense. I can't say anything else. Number 16, the Florida Gators, who beat LSU, and that's kind of why I have them in this order. Florida looking pretty good, moving up a ton in my rankings. Number 15, Kentucky. They lost in overtime on the road in a game they probably should have won. Coaching kind of cost them that game. Benny Snell should have got that ball. Number 15, Kentucky is not a bad spot. They're ahead of Florida, who they beat, and Florida beat LSU, so that kind of makes sense in the order that it happened. Number 14, Oregon. Oregon's only loss was a game they easily should have won, where Stanford caught fire in a bottle and won the ball game late. Very good Oregon Ducks football squad right here. Number 13, Wisconsin. Jonathan Taylor going off. They've kind of picked up pace following that loss to BYU. After that loss to BYU, no one talks about Jonathan Taylor. We need to get Jonathan Taylor a little bit of love. Number 12, Michigan. It is the Michigan Wolverines, who play Wisconsin, ranked number 13 this upcoming week under the lights in the Big House, big game. Michigan looking very good after the Notre Dame loss. They did struggle against Northwestern, but apparently Northwestern's a pretty good team. So, yeah. Which, by the way, I've been saying this whole time. Number 11, UCF, just taking care of business, going 5-0. They did beat Pitt a couple weeks back, and that was a very good win in my opinion. Number 10, Oklahoma, after a loss to Texas. I'm not going to drop them too far. They easily could have won that game, but and a great job coming back. Kyler Murray looking very good, but that defense needs to get fixed if they want to be true playoff contenders. Number 9, Texas. Speaking of a team, could they possibly be true playoff contenders? Lost the first game of the season, and they looking to go on a huge win streak. Well, the Longhorns sit here at 5-1 after a big win against Oklahoma, which was their biggest challenge. Their biggest challenge left is West Virginia. It'll be very interesting to see how that goes. Number 8 is going to be the Washington Huskies, still sitting at 5-1, but not too impressed with them against a struggling UCLA team who got manhandled against Colorado. This one, though, in Los Angeles. Watch out as Washington plays Oregon in Autzen Stadium this upcoming week. Oregon's off a bye. Be ready for that upset right there. Number 7, the Penn State Nittany Lions. Look, I know their last game they lost, but they just honestly are a beneficiary to the success or the lack of success of teams ahead of them. And that's why you got to put Penn State here, in my opinion. Penn State looks solid. Penn State looks like a top 25 football team. Number 6, the West Virginia Mountaineers. West Virginia is sitting here very pleased with how the season is going. They struggled a little bit against Kansas, but Kansas does cause a lot of turnovers. They caused 3 interceptions, 4 turnovers, 3 interceptions for Will Grier. Not that impressive of a performance, but I'll give him a little bit of love here considering the fact that Kansas is very good at forcing turnovers, and I can't believe I'm saying that, but you know what? They once had a key to leave, so who knows what can happen there. Number 5, Clemson. Clemson is number 5, and you can definitely tell what the top 4 is because, you know, even though they had a convincing win against Wake Forest, I'm not going to value that higher, especially after Syracuse losing. When Syracuse loses a Pitt, it kind of loses a little bit of credibility for that close game that Clemson had that they probably should have lost. Number 4, Notre Dame. 6-0, Notre Dame fighting Irish. I'm starting to buy in. I don't want to make a mistake. I think they have a way better resume than Clemson. I think they look better than Clemson. I think the line between Clemson and Notre Dame is very, very far apart. Number 3 is going to be Ohio State. Ohio State moves down a spot after struggling with Indiana. And it was kind of the ability for Georgia to take over out in their ball game. Jake Fromm looking very good against Vanderbilt. You know, they just looked more solid than Ohio State this weekend, but that could possibly be flipping. You know, these lines between Georgia and Ohio State for the last couple of weeks have been very, very close. It's been a Penn State win that gets Ohio State above them and a struggle against Indiana that put them below them. Number 2 is going to be Georgia. Georgia's a very, very solid team and a team to watch for on the playoff and possibly beat Alabama in the championship. Who knows? They got to get past Kentucky first. I still think Kentucky's a solid team, even after their loss against a solid defense and a slugfest against Texas A&M. Number 1, the Alabama Crimson Tide. There's no debate here. They look, again, really good. And not much you can say. A very efficient offense, scoring 65 points on a pretty decent defense in Arkansas. Teams under consideration. Stanford falls out of my top 25, and I was about to keep them, but I'm like, I can't keep them over Utah. And it was between them and Utah, and look, head-to-head, and it wasn't even close, and it was in Palo Alto. So we got to give the favor to Utah. I didn't want to move Stanford out of my rankings, but, you know, there's not enough room for them. You got to leave them out. One spot out. Appalachian State's right below them. They're only lost to Penn State on the road in overtime, which is not that bad of a loss at all. Utah State's only loss was by 7 points against Michigan State on the road. Michigan State, for what that's worth, they're a top 40 team. They're not a top 30 team or a top 35 team, really. But they are a top 40 team. And that's their only loss. And I'm going to give them a little bit there. USF undefeated, but not that impressive yet this season. Iowa State 2-3. I know. Hold on. Iowa State's 3 losses were all really close games. Lost to TCU, I believe, on a walk-off field goal, which is a ranked team. Oklahoma by 10 points, which is a top 10 team. And Iowa, who in my opinion is a top 20 team. So I think that Iowa State has 3 top 25 wins and a win against a top 40 team in Oklahoma State. So give them a little bit of love. They played pretty good. And they're by the way, all of them close losses. All of them they played very well in. 10 points against Iowa, 10 points against Oklahoma, 3 points against TCU, I believe. Texas Tech is going to be on the outside looking in off the bye week. Didn't really, you can't do anything on a bye week, but they didn't look bad against West Virginia, and that's why I have them there. So that'll do it here. Let me check. Okay. Dang, love your top 10, man. Thanks. Except Alabama, they suck. You can't say Alabama is not number one. So that'll do it for this presentation of my top 25 for this week. And either this week or the next couple weeks, we will have a Heisman Trophy top 10 where we will go in depth with each player. Thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Make sure you like, subscribe, and I'll see you later.